Appalachia, the oldest mountain range in North America. A place of morning mist curling through hollows, bluegrass music drifting off front porches, and small towns where strangers still wave at you from across the road. It sounds like a postcard, and for the most part, it is. But beneath those ancient blue ridges and fog-filled valleys, something else has been going on for centuries. We are talking about a town that has been on fire underground for more than 60 years. A creature with glowing red eyes that seemed to predict a bridge collapse that killed 46 people. A ghost whose testimony helped convict her own murderer in a court of law. A 10-foot-tall alien that triggered a United States Air Force investigation. And an invisible spirit that sliced everything in a farmhouse into crescent moon shapes. These are not campfire stories. These are documented events in real Appalachian towns. Hit that subscribe button and let us begin. Number 15. We start in the small village of Middleway, tucked into the rolling hills of Jefferson County, West Virginia. In the 1790s, a farmer named Adam Livingston opened his door one evening to find a lone stranger asking for a place to sleep. The stranger fell gravely ill during the night and died before morning, and that is when the trouble started. An invisible force began tormenting the household. Strange snipping sounds echoed through the rooms after dark. Clothing, leather boots, quilts, even paper money were found slashed into perfect crescent moon shapes. Dishes shattered without anyone touching them. Ghostly voices were heard whispering prayers in Latin. The entity became known locally as the Clipping Spirit. Desperate, Livingston turned to a Catholic priest named Father Dennis Cahill, who performed rituals that reportedly calmed the disturbances. Livingston later donated his 34-acre farm to the Catholic Church. The land is known today as Priestfield Pastoral Center. A large wooden cross still marks the grave of the unknown stranger, and no one has ever explained what happened inside that house. An invisible spirit that slices your belongings into crescent moons is unsettling enough. But what about an abandoned amusement park that some locals say was cursed from the very first day it opened? Number 14. In the Smoky Mountains near Mackey Valley, North Carolina, there once stood a place called Ghost Town in the Sky. It opened in 1961 as a Wild West-themed amusement park perched on top of Buck Mountain at over 4,600 feet in elevation. From the start, the park was plagued by misfortune. A worker was killed during construction. Rides malfunctioned with alarming regularity. The incline railway broke down so often that guests were left stranded, with no way down except a narrow chairlift swaying over the valley below. The park closed and reopened multiple times. Each attempt to revive it seemed to invite fresh disaster. By 2012, the mountaintop sat abandoned. Rusting roller coaster tracks, collapsing wooden saloon facades, a ghost town that had literally become a ghost town. The morning fog rolls through those empty rides to this day. A cursed amusement park rotting above the clouds is eerie. But what about an entire mountain community that vanished and left everything behind? Number 13. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains near Burnsville, North Carolina, there is a place called Lost Cove. This small community first took root during the Civil War era, sustained by farming, logging, and moonshining. When the railroad arrived in the late 1800s, the settlement found new life through timber and mining. But that boom did not last. By the middle of the 20th century, the trains began passing straight through without stopping. Without reliable transport, the town was simply too remote to survive. The residents left, but they left everything. Homes with furniture still sitting inside, photographs on mantles, personal belongings scattered as if the owners had stepped out for the afternoon and never returned. The forest swallowed it all. Today, Lost Cove is only accessible on foot. Stone foundations, collapsed chimneys, and overgrown graveyards are all that remain. A ghost town reclaimed by the forest is haunting. But what about a town where a ghost literally testified in a murder trial and won? Number 12. In January of 1897, a young bride named Zona Heaster Shue was found dead in her home in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. The local doctor declared her death the result of heart failure. Case closed. But Zona's mother, Mary Jane Heaster, was not convinced. She claimed that her daughter's spirit appeared to her on 4 separate nights. According to Mary Jane, the ghost described how her husband, Erasmus Stribling Trout Shoe, had strangled her and broken her neck in a rage because she had not cooked meat for his supper. Mary Jane took her account to the county prosecutor. The body was exhumed. The autopsy confirmed the ghost's account precisely. Zona's neck was broken between the first and second vertebrae. Her windpipe had been crushed. Erasmus Shoe was arrested, tried, and convicted of murder. The jury deliberated for just 70 minutes. A West Virginia state highway marker near Sam Black Church sums it up in a single sentence. It is the only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer. A ghost solving her own murder is extraordinary, but the next town's horror lasted far longer than one haunting. Number 11. In the town of Weston, West Virginia, there stands the largest hand-cut stone building in all of North America. It was designed in 1858 to house 250 patients with mental illness. By the 1950s, it held over 2,400. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum operated for 130 years. Civil War soldiers were among the first patients admitted. As the decades passed, overcrowding became catastrophic. Patients slept in hallways, in cages, and on bare floors. The treatments administered there read like a horror novel. Lobotomies, electroshock, ice water immersion. When the facility finally closed in 1994, it left behind wards full of rusting medical equipment, crumbling isolation cells, and peeling walls stained by over a century of suffering. Today, paranormal investigators report unexplained voices echoing through sealed wards, footsteps in empty hallways, and sudden drops in temperature in the former treatment rooms. A century of documented suffering leaves marks on any building. But what about a prison where nearly 1,000 inmates died behind its walls, and many say never left? Number 10. In the small town of Moundsville, West Virginia, directly across from an ancient Native American burial mound, stands a Gothic fortress of stone. The West Virginia Penitentiary was built in 1866 and decommissioned in 1995. During its 119-year tenure, approximately 998 men died in the prison. 85 hangings and 9 electrocutions took place within its walls. The Cincinnati, Ohio Enquirer dubbed it Hell on Earth. Prisoners called it Bloody Alley. The old recreation room in the basement, called the Sugar Shack, was infamous for illegal gambling, drug deals, rape, fighting, and murder. Today, visitors report hearing disembodied arguing and ghostly whispering in this area. Many former inmates and guards have reported seeing apparitions and feeling cold spots throughout the prison. One former inmate claimed to have been pushed down a flight of stairs by an unseen force. A prison where nearly 1,000 died is chilling. But what about an abandoned amusement park built atop a massacre site and an ancient burial ground? Number 9. The Lake Shawnee Amusement Park is a defunct amusement park in Princeton, West Virginia. Opened in 1926, the park operated for 62 years before closing. But the violence on this land began long before the Ferris wheel ever turned. The land was the site of a massacre in 1783, in which 3 members of landowner Mitchell Clay's family were murdered. According to archaeologists, there may be as many as 3,000 bodies of Native Americans buried on the property. Throughout its operation, Lake Shawnee received negative press for the deaths of 6 guests, including drownings and a young girl killed by a truck near the swing set. The park has been the scene of much paranormal activity. Visitors have experienced disembodied voices, Native American chanting, and the long-forgotten carnival rides moving on their own. The Travel Channel ranks it as one of the most terrifying places in America. An amusement park built on a burial ground is terrifying. But what about a creature that appeared from the sky and triggered an investigation by the United States Air Force? On the evening of September 12, 1952, a group of boys were playing football in Flatwoods, West Virginia. At 7:15, they saw a bright red object streak across the sky and appear to crash on a hillside behind a nearby farm. Two brothers ran home to tell their mother, Kathleen May. She gathered the boys, a 17-year-old National Guardsman named Eugene Lemon, and the family dog, and headed up the hill to investigate. What they found defied explanation. A pulsating red light hovered near the ground. Then Lemon aimed his flashlight into the darkness and illuminated a 10-foot-tall figure with a spade-shaped head, glowing orange-red, claw-like hands, and a dark metallic body that appeared to float above the ground. A thick, nauseating mist filled the air, so foul it made several of them physically sick. The dog bolted. The group ran. The encounter made national headlines and triggered an official inquiry under the United States Air Force program known as Project Blue Book. An alien encounter investigated by the Air Force is one thing, but what about a town haunted by a winged creature that seemed to predict the deaths of 46 people? Number 7. On the night of November 15, 1966, two young couples were driving near an abandoned TNT plant on the outskirts of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. What they saw standing in the road stopped them cold. A gray figure, roughly 7 feet tall, with enormous folded wings and two glowing red eyes. When they tried to drive away, the creature rose into the air and chased their car at speeds above 100 miles per hour until they reached the town limits. Over the next 13 months, more than 100 similar sightings were reported. Then, on December 15, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed under the weight of rush hour traffic and plunged into the freezing Ohio River. 46 people were killed. After the collapse, the Mothman was never seen again. Point Pleasant now has a 12-foot stainless steel statue of the creature in the center of town, and an annual Mothman festival that draws upward of 12,000 visitors each September. A creature that vanished after predicting a catastrophe is terrifying. But the next location was tormented by a force so violent that even a future president of the United States reportedly fled after a single night. Number 6. In 1817, a farmer named John Bell moved his family to a property near the town of Adams in Robertson County, Tennessee. One afternoon, John spotted a strange animal sitting in his field. It had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit. He fired his rifle at it, and the creature vanished. Over the following weeks, the Bell family began hearing sounds inside their home. Chains dragged across the floor. Something gnawed at the bedposts. Then came the voices. An unseen entity began speaking directly to the family and their visitors. It reserved its worst behavior for John and his daughter Betsy. She was slapped, pinched, and stuck with pins by invisible hands. Among the visitors was General Andrew Jackson, the future 7th president. According to published accounts, Jackson left the following morning and reportedly declared he would rather fight the entire British Army again than spend another night in that house. In December of 1820, John Bell was found dead. A small vial of dark, unidentified liquid was discovered near his bed. The family cat was given a drop and died instantly. A haunting so powerful it drove a future president from the premises is remarkable. But consider a sanatorium where thousands died and their bodies were secretly removed through an underground tunnel. Number 5. The Waverly Hills Sanatorium is a former sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky. In the early 1900s, Jefferson County was ravaged by an outbreak of tuberculosis, which prompted the construction of a new hospital. The sanatorium opened in 1910 and closed in 1961. Death was a near-daily occurrence due to the extreme and often ineffective treatment methods. The death rate became so high that a secret tunnel was constructed to move bodies out. Also known as the Death Tunnel, the body chute is a steep 525-foot-long tunnel with a railcar system. Its main purpose was to protect the morale of other patients, who would not be subjected to seeing dead patients taken away. One of the most famous tales stems from Room 502, said to be the site of at least one nurse suicide in 1928. Visitors are often struck by an overwhelmingly negative feeling upon entering the room. Some have even heard a disembodied voice shout, "Get out!" A sanatorium with a secret death tunnel is horrifying. But what about a honky-tonk bar that locals call a gateway to hell? Number 4. Bobby Mackey's Music World was a nightclub and honky-tonk in Wilder, Kentucky. Urban legends claim the nightclub was the site of hauntings, murders, and suicides. Beginning in 1850, a small slaughterhouse was built on the land. Almost nothing remains except for a few well-like drains in the basement, once used to drain animal blood. Various legends claim the site features a gateway to hell and is haunted by spirits including Pearl Bryan, whose decapitated corpse was found in Fort Thomas, Kentucky in 1896. Other legends claim Bryan's murderers were Satanists who cursed the location. The Music World was widely held to be the most haunted nightclub in the United States, infested with over 40 reported ghosts. The then caretaker, Carl Lawson, was said to be possessed by a demonic entity. The well in the basement, often referred to as the portal to hell, is believed to be a gateway for malevolent spirits. On December 10, 2024, the building was demolished, but the legends refused to die. A nightclub called a gateway to hell is disturbing. But what about a battlefield where over 7,000 soldiers fell in a single afternoon, and their spirits still march? Number 3. At Perryville Battlefield State Historic Site, 20,000 Union troops and 16,000 Confederate soldiers clashed on October 8, 1862, in Kentucky's largest and grisly Civil War battle. Over 7,000 people were killed or wounded, and the corpses of the Confederate soldiers were left to rot on the battlefield. There is a mass grave holding 300 Confederate soldiers. Locals say it is home to more ghosts than people today. Many say vivid echoes of the past remain after dark, in the form of booming cannons, soldiers' voices, flickering lanterns, and phantom horses. Two friends on a porch near the battlefield had a Confederate soldier walk out of the field and address them. He said, "Ladies, the lamp will give our position away." Then he turned and walked back, dematerializing as he went. During a reenactment, two historians were awakened by a man who barged into their tent, demanding to know the whereabouts of one of his soldiers. They later looked up the names he had given them and found both were listed as men killed at Perryville. A battlefield where the dead still give orders is chilling, but the next town sits on top of something far stranger than any ghost. Number 2. In the early 1900s, a community called Elkmont was established in the mountains of eastern Tennessee. It served as an exclusive retreat for wealthy families who built grand vacation cabins deep in the forest. When the Great Smoky Mountains National Park was created, the residents were asked to leave. Many negotiated life leases that allowed them to remain until they died. One by one, the cabins emptied. The last leases expired in the 1990s. For years afterwards, the village sat in silence. Doors hung open, wallpaper peeled from damp walls. Furniture rotted where it stood. All of it was surrounded by one of the most visited national parks in the world. A forgotten village, frozen in decay, hidden in plain sight inside a park that most visitors never realize contains a ghost town. A hidden ghost town inside a national park is unsettling. But our number 1 entry may be the most disturbing place in all of Appalachia. Number 1. In May of 1962, the volunteer fire department in Centralia, Pennsylvania, set a controlled burn at the local dump to clean up rubbish ahead of Memorial Day. What nobody realized was that the pit connected to an exposed coal seam that ran into the vast network of abandoned anthracite mines beneath the town. The fire dropped underground. It spread through the tunnels, and it never stopped. For nearly 20 years, residents lived above a creeping inferno without fully understanding the danger. Then carbon monoxide began seeping into basements. Trees died from the roots up. Roads buckled and cracked open. On Valentine's Day of 1981, the ground opened beneath 12-year-old Todd Domboski while he was playing in his backyard. The sinkhole was 150 feet deep and filled with lethal gases. He survived only because he grabbed an exposed tree root and held on until his cousin pulled him out. The United States Congress allocated $42 million to relocate the population. 500 buildings were demolished. The post office revoked the town's zip code in 2002. In 1980, nearly 1,000 people lived in Centralia. By the 2020 census, 5 remained. The fire beneath the town still burns today. It is fueled by an estimated 25 million tons of coal and is expected to continue burning for at least another 250 years. Smoke still rises from cracks in the earth. The town inspired the horror film Silent Hill. You can still drive through Centralia. There are no shops, no post office, no neighbors. Just empty streets, overgrown sidewalks, cemetery headstones surrounded by wisps of smoke, and the faint warmth of the ground beneath your feet reminding you that something enormous and unstoppable is still burning below. If you like this video, please subscribe. Make sure to watch the next video appearing on the screen.